compassion, and it's based on the psukim from the Navi Micha, right? Mikel Kamocha that we say in Tashlich on Rosh Hashanah, and each one is a different midah, which is amazing because when we think of the different the Eser Sfirot, the 10 Sfirot, and the different midot, so we think of Chesed is Chesed, Gvura is Gvura, but we don't think about all the different aspects. And we kind of have a little taste of this in Sfirat Omer when each week when we have the midah of Chesed, so we have Chesed Sheba Chesed. There's an aspect of Chesed, then there's an aspect of Gvura Sheba Chesed, right? And the deeper we go into Kabbalah, so we learn how everything breaks up, exponentially over and over, right? And there's many different permutations of the different midot and fine nuances of how each midah is expressed. And so what we have, and when it comes to Keter of Rachamim Pshutim, so we really have 13 major different expressions of Keter. Each one of them is subtly different from the other one, but each one is to be used in a different situation, right? So the first one, Mikel Kamocha, and we said Mikel Kamocha is that Hashem sustains all creations, all mankind, even while they're going against Him. At the very moment that one is going against Hashem, Hashem is the one that's providing him with his heartbeat, with his oxygen, with the health of all of his limbs, etc. Right? And we said, why is that Mikel Kamocha? Who God is like you? Because who can imagine such a thing that you're sustaining someone at the very time that they're going against you? Right? It's a type of compassion and patience that we can't fathom. And he said just 3 words that he said in that midah is Ad Yashuv b'tshuva, until the person returns in tshuva. Right? Hashem is waiting. The whole essence of all this compassion is to give a person a chance, to give him time, to go at his pace, so to speak, and that he should be able to return to Hashem. Right? The second one is Noseh Avon. We're just going quickly doing a review. I hope that's good. If any questions, if you guys want to go a little bit slower, you can. Right. So all right. If it's all fresh, just a real quick to catch us back up. Noseh Avon is that when a person sins, he creates a spiritual being, otherwise known as an angel, which is he's not such a good creation, right? And he's there until a person does tshuva, and when a person does tshuva, he destroys that angel, or he takes that spiritual energy and it turns it into a positive angel, right? An angel. A kategor to a sanegor, right? Which in English you'd say.
I guess
a prosecuting angel to a defending angel, right? Defense attorney is in it, right? A defending angel, right? So you have something you want to say? Huh?
Yeah. Follow.
Oh, you're following.
It's
Okay.
translating,
Okay. Okay. So, no problem. Not bothering. It's wonderful to be in the room with more Jews at a time. Did you ever hear about Rav Natan Siegel used to teach here? So Rav Natan he was a sweet Hasidic Yid. It's about this tall. So you knew him?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh really? Rav Natan, the sweetest of the sweet. And he used to take students to the Amshon of a Rebbe for Hanukkah candles, lighting Hanukkah candles. You have like 1,000 people in like a tiny apartment, and he used to say, "Why do people think that crowding is bad? Crowding is more Jews in one space. What's wrong with that?"
Your feet.
Baruch atah Adonai melech haolam. So again, so Noseh Avon. So Hashem could say, "Look, you created this angel, this spiritual being. You finance him. You give him life." But Hashem says, "No, I'll hold him off. I'll keep giving him bread, so to speak. I'll give him spiritual sustenance and life, vitality until you do tshuva." Right? Even though Hashem says, "I didn't create this. This is not what I wanted. I wanted you to be creating good angels with your actions, not bad angels." So that's Noseh Avon. We're just doing a quick review of everything we learned up until now in Tomer Devorah.
What book?
Oh, this Tomer Devorah, the date poem of Devorah.
Who wrote that?
The Ramak. Rav Moshe Cordovero was a Kabbalist, lived in Tzfat at the time of the Arizal. They overlap just by a couple of months, actually. And this is a Sefer. He goes through the midot of Keter. Keter is Rachamim Pshutim, is pure compassion. It's above all the other
Keter
midot.
is like at the top. No?
Right. So that's why it's the crown. It's on top. The third one is Ve'over al Pesha, and this is that Hashem cleanses us Himself. Right? When we we said the analogy of like when a baby makes the dirty diaper, right? So the father, the mother picks him up. So Hashem actually Himself cleanses us. When we do tshuva, Hashem doesn't say, that's below my dignity. I'm not gonna do it. I'll send my angels to do it. Hashem Himself is the one that actually cleanses us, which is an amazing thing. Mm-hmm. And also He says at the end there, that should serve as a deterrent for us not to sin, because we realize that we're going to have to make Hashem actually, right? The fourth one is Lesherit Nachalato, which means that Hashem relates to us like His family, right? We love people have asked me over the years, and here in Machon Meir, other places, that we're in a generation of universalism, right? All mankind is wonderful. We love everybody, right? Which is it's beautiful and it's true, right? But they say, I was asked, why do we have a mitzvah to love your fellow Jew? And you don't have a mitzvah to love all mankind. So before I answer that, I'll say Rav Kook actually says in Midot HaRaya, Rav Kook says, how is it possible for a person not to love everything? To love all of mankind and all of Hashem's creation? How is it possible? When you're filled with love of God, so you automatically love, right? But why do we have a mitzvah to love our fellow Jew, to love a righteous convert, but we don't have a mitzvah to love a non-Jew, right? So the answer is that you relate differently to your family than you do to people that are not your family. It's just a fact of life, right? You say to somebody else, someone gives a candy to their own child, but they're not going to give it to the neighbor's child. Well, maybe because they're scared that what the parents are going to say, right? But are you racist? Just because they're your blood? What about my child? Right? No, of course. Nobody has a question about that. So too, it's not that we're saying that we shouldn't love mankind. It's saying that you relate to your family differently. And so too, in this midah of Nesherit Nachalato, Hashem relates to Am Yisrael. He's our family, right? He's our father. So if that's true, even though, in your family, if you've got someone who's renting a room in your house and they're like doing all kinds of bad stuff, lighting things on fire and whatever, so like
drinking from the milk carton,
right? You're gonna kick them out eventually, right? It's my house, but if it's your own child, right? I don't know what you're gonna do about it, but you're not gonna kick them out because it's your child. So too, Hashem relates to us in that way. And the fifth one is Lo echzik la'adapo. Hashem doesn't hold on to His anger forever. There's some people, the Mishnah says in Pirkei Avot, that some people are easy to anger and slow to forgive. And there's some people who are slow to anger and easy to forgive. And some people are slow to anger and slow to forgive and easy to anger and easy to forgive. Right? So Hashem is slow to anger and very easy to forgive. He doesn't hold on to his anger, so to speak. Even though we talk about Hashem being angry, it's kind of silly because Hashem doesn't get angry. Anger is someone that's out of control and they feel like they're losing control. Hashem is always in control. But Hashem sometimes shows us anger in order to, just like the Rambam says, sometimes we have to show our children anger in order to teach them something. If the child runs across the street, right, and the car's coming, so you have to scream. You want to traumatize them a little bit, Don't quote me on that. But that they're going to be careful about cars, right? So Hashem does the same thing, but we shouldn't think Chas v'Shalom that Hashem holds on to it like a person that holds a grudge. Hashem is quick to remove it, right? And so too, we should be quick to remove ours. And the last one that we learned was Ki Chafetz Chesed, and the reason is because Hashem loves Chesed. Not the reason, but another midah is that Hashem loves Chesed. What does that mean? Even if He's done 99,000 things wrong, but He's got this one positive attribute to Him that He does Chesed, He does kindness with other people. And maybe He doesn't do kindness with anybody except for His elderly grandmother, right? But I love Him for that. I notice that piece in Him. I relate to Him from that place. And so too, and we'll just finish on that until we start a new midah today. Says the Ramak. So too, we should compartmentalize. When you see something good in another person, that should be enough. right? Don't look at all the bad, right? And this is an art. This is a manually. I always in therapy, I always talk about different lanes. If I've been going in the lane of this is my way of thinking, and I'm used to driving on that road, I have to manually pick myself up. It's not natural. I manually pick myself up and I place myself on this new road, this new way of thinking. I'm not looking. I know that there's bad things in the person, but I'm looking at the good. And that's enough for me to love them. That's enough for me to bestow upon them kindness and goodness, right? Oh, but I fall back onto this one, right? It's kind of like you guys know if you buy a new car, so the what do you call it? The alignment in your car is always a little bit off. They do that on purpose. You guys know about that, right?
No.
If you let go of the wheel, you got a brand new car, and you push on the gas, and you're not holding the wheel, it's going to go a little bit to the right. Maybe in England, it's going to go a little bit to the left.
Oh yeah, it does. I thought there was something wrong with my car.
Right. No, they make the alignment like that in order that in case you fall asleep at the wheel, so that you'll hit those, on the side, and it'll wake you up, right? So right. So that's I'm not a mechanic, but that's what I was told. So if you find that it's not true, but at least it's a good lesson for us, right? Automatically, I'm going to go back to what I used to do. I used to look at the bad people, right? We're raised in a culture that we dafka look at the bad. If you look at the media, what we infused with all the time, looking at the bad in people. The news is looking at the bad. Like 15 years ago, there was a website. Somebody came out with a website, good news, only good news, right? And lasted 2 months because it was it was very boring, like this one got married, this one had a child, right? Okay, nothing in politics, that wasn't even a category because there wasn't any good news ever there. So, but right, we automatically fall back because we were raised like that, right? So you have to manually grab the wheel and put yourself back in that lane of it's enough for me, this good thing, which is it's an amazing way to live. It's an amazing way to live. I'll tell you a quick story, and then we're going to start our new midah for today. I don't remember all the details of the story, so I'm going to tell Bekitzer, but Rav Aaron Belzer, the previous Belzer Rebbe, he was a Malach Elokim. He was an angel of God. He was mamish, not in the category of human beings, pretty much. Matter of fact, the Lubavitcher Rebbe said about him, which is in Chabad, I don't know if you guys, how much Ganesh you have with Chabad. In Chabad, they don't give compliments. In Russian Jews in general, it's not the way to you give a shtek a little bit, you give a little poke, you want to push someone to be better. If I'm going to tell you all your compliments, right? So then maybe you're going to get a big head, right? I always joke with my Lubavitch friends. I know you guys are allergic to compliments, but I want you to sit here patiently and accept a compliment from me, right? Lubavitch Rebbe said about Rav Aaron Belz, he said he's spirituality without physicality. He's tzura bli chomer. He doesn't have any. It's like he doesn't have a body. He's an angel. Matter of fact, I told you I was going to tell you one story. I have to tell you this other one. So you guys forgive me. These are stories that give us life. When the Lubavitcher Rebbe was a younger man, and he was living in Berlin, and he was studying in university, so he heard that the Belzer Rav came to. He was in Germany in one of these towns, which was another story for another time, but he was really it was before the Nazi party was formed, and he was actually trying to spiritually prevent that, and he wasn't successful. After 6 weeks, nobody knew what he was doing. After 6 weeks, he said, I wasn't successful. Only years later, they knew what he was talking about. But anyway, he was there, and all the Jews in all the neighboring areas, who came to get a bracha from the Rav. So the Lubavitch Rabbi came with a friend of his, and he told his friend, he said, don't tell the Rebbe who I am, because he was the son-in-law of the then current Lubavitch Rebbe, who was now the previous Rebbe, right? The Rebbe Rath. He said, don't tell him who I am. I just want to go get a bracha like a simple Jew. So Aaron Belzer had this interesting thing that he would shake people's hands. He had a handkerchief on top of his hand. Nobody knows why. That's what he did. Every now and again, he would take it off. So Lubavitcher Rebbe gave him his hand, and also he wouldn't look up. He was like an angel. He was in this world. He wasn't in this world. He would go like this. So the Lubavitcher Rebbe takes his hand and he says, "Oh, that's a nice warm Hasidic hand." And he takes off the towel, and he grabs his hand. He's looking, and he said, "Who are you? Who are you?" And he said, "I'm just a simple Avrech." I'm just a younger man. He said, no. Who are you? He said, no, really, I'm just a... He said, everybody else you can tell that, but we see who you are already. Right? That's why I had to tell him. Another time, in Vienna, the Belzer Rav had to have surgery on his eyes. Both of his eyes were covered up with bandages. There's a picture of him walking down the road with his eyes covered up with bandages. On that walk, the Lubavitcher Rebbe happened to be in Vienna, and in Vienna, right? Sorry, I said in Vienna, and he was walking, and so he ran up to him, and he grabbed his hand. And before the Lubavitcher Rebbe could say anything, he said, "Oh, it's you again." He said, "You can't hide from me. You can't hide from me, even if I can't see you." Right? So the story with the story of Rav Belzer, which has to do with what we're learning. Besides, it's just fun to tell stories from Rav Belzer all day. But is that there was once, I don't remember the story, it was a wedding or something in a town, and there's all kinds of guests and people staying in the different hotels and whatever. Something got stolen, somebody's wallet or some fortune got stolen, and they had a hunch who it was. They weren't sure. They had a couple of people, and they went to the Rav Belzer, and they said, Rebbe, we know that you have open Ruach HaKodesh. We know that you see everything. Why don't you just say who it was? So there won't be this big machloket here. Who's doing it? People are blaming each other. So he said the most amazing answer. He said once I used to be able to see all things like that. He said, but then I realized that it's much more important than being able to see things like that is to see good in other Jews. And so I turned it off. I only look at the good now. That's what he did, and he really was that. They say that Jews who were like very far from Judaism, who were breaking Shabbos publicly and doing all kinds of other things, but they were very close to the Rebbe. They called them Rabbi Chasidim, people who weren't even close to being a Chasidim. Anyway, that's the midah of ki chafetz chesedu. I see there's good in you. I see there's something good in you, even though I see there's 99 other bad things. But I look at that, and that's enough for me. That's enough for me to be good to you, to be kind to you, be loving to you, to bestow chesed upon you. Right? Okay. Took us a few minutes, but now we're up to date. Ready to go weiter? You guys ready to go onwards?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. Just you're new here. I didn't know your name. Eitan. Welcome. Maybe you've been here 20 years. I don't know, but you're new to me. Okay. Hazayin. The seventh midah is Yeshuv Yerachamenu. And the Ramak says the following: Ein Hakadosh Baruch Hu mitnaeg b'midat basar v'dam. Hashem does not relate to us like men. Meaning, Hashem doesn't relate to us in the way that men relate to us. He's different from men, from flesh and blood. She'im yichiso chavero kshu mitratzei mo mitratzei me'at v'lo be'ava kodemet. If I've got a friend and he betrays me, he hurts me, right? It stings. It stings really bad, right? And I'm hurt. My friend comes and he apologizes. He asks for forgiveness, right? So I forgive, right? The Rambam says if a person asks you for forgiveness, you should forgive them. Don't be. It says it's cruel not to forgive another person when they ask you for forgiveness, right? So I forgive him, but when I forgive him, we don't go back to the same place that we were, right? Matter of fact, in marriage counseling and therapy, all the time, whenever there's a breach of trust on whatever level, right? Trust is something that it's so easy to destroy, and it's so hard to rebuild, right? And trust is the foundation of every relationship, especially marriage, right? But way before love is trust. Trust is the most important thing before love. Love is something that builds in time, right? Not like what we see in the movies. But why is it so hard for us to trust again? Why can't person hurt my feelings? Now they apologize, and now if I loved you at 98%, now I'm giving you 67%, right? It might in 3 years you keep proving yourself to me, we'll get back up to the 90 percentile. Why is that? It's hard. We're scared to get hurt again, right? You broke my trust. I was trusting of you. I was vulnerable, and now you broke my trust. So how am I supposed to trust you again like that? Maybe you're going to do it again. I know that you're apologizing, but maybe you're going to do it again. I don't know, right? We have to protect ourselves in that way. We would be foolish not to, right? To some degree. So says the Ramak that Hashem is not like that. Avalim chata adam ve'asat tshuva. If a person sins and they do tshuva, ma'alato yoter gdola im HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem loves him even more than he loved him before, which we can't even we can't imagine such a thing. Right? You hurt my feelings. I loved you at 90%. You say, I'm sorry. I won't do it again. I really didn't mean to. Now I love you 100%. Right? It's not easy for us. The famous Gemara that I'm sure you guys have heard 1,000 times. In the place that Balei Tshuva stand, a tzaddik gamur, a complete tzaddikim who's never sinned before, they can't stand in such a place. And the reason for this is like explained in the Gemara in Masechet Menachot, Binyan Hey. We have a very interesting Gemara. Al Pi Pshat, it's not very understandable in a simple way, but in the Kabbalah, it's something that's discussed extensively. Is that Hashem created two worlds? He created the spiritual world and the physical world. The spiritual world He created with the letter Yud, and the physical world He created with the letter Hey, right? Which together, Yud and Hey, is one of the names of Hashem, right? Like we say in Tefillah, ki beka, ki beya, tzur ha'olamim. That Hashem, with the Yud and the Hey, tzur ha'olamim, He created the worlds, olamim, the two worlds, right? So this physical world is created with Hey, and there was a very deep Kabbalistic things. We're not really going to go into why Yud, why Hey. But just for our purposes, that this world, the physical world that we live in, was created with the ot Hey, meaning there's something intrinsic about Hey that is represented in this world, that's built into this world, the fabric of this world. That if you look at the letter Hey, right, it looks like an achsadra. Achsadra is kind of like achsadra is like a kind of like a sukkah, kind of like a pergola. A pergola, it's it's standing up. It's got a roof, but it's open on the sides, right? So you say, why is it made like that? The hay is like that. Anybody that wants to leave can leave, right? You don't want to be here, you can go down the chute. You can go down the bottom. There's lots of ways out. Now listen to how he's going to say it so explicitly. Perush olam nivra behay, meaning the world was created with hay. Hashem created endless opportunities for a person to sin, to go into evil, to go into animalistic living, to not be, right? Meaning Hashem created you inside the hay, so to speak. That's a place of Kedusha. That's a place of holiness. That's a place of B'Tselem Elokim, in the image of God. All mankind is created like that, right? Not just the Jewish people, of course. But if a person wants to fall, if they want to live a depraved life, if they want to do, right? You want to steal, you want to cheat, there's so many opportunities, right? There's so many opportunities. There's no place that you go in life where there's no Yetzer Hara, that there's no easy way to take a shortcut, right? To diminish the holiness that's intrinsic in you. Kaminach Sadra. It's just like it's open like a pergola, right? It's covered on top, right? God's here. But anywhere you want to go, you can go. You're not enclosed. You're not forced to stay in there. So in the case of the hay, it's represented that it's got this big hole on the bottom, right? A person can fall out however they want to. Anybody that wants to leave this world, meaning the world of goodness and holiness, he's got many doors that he can go into. It's interesting, the Ramak is very short in his words, but this he goes over and he says it a few times. Right? There's no side that there's no klipot, that there's no chitzonim, meaning external negative spiritual forces there that are waiting to sink their teeth into us, so to speak. But it's also open on the top, right? What does that mean? If he wants to come back, there's a way in, right? There's you guys know that you've heard of the Amish. Mm-hmm. Has anybody visited the Amish before?
Visited?
Yeah. I've actually been to the Amish a few times. Very, very interesting people.
Where do they live?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, Illinois, around the Midwest. I have a rabbi who used to run a summer camp, and he would take the Jewish religious summer camp. He would take the whole camp to an Amish village and talk to them. And now the Amish, not numbers wise, but percentage, is the fastest growing community in America. That's right. The fastest. They have the smallest amount of dropout, meaning people of their progeny that don't choose to continue in their path. All their children continue being Amish. And I'm not saying it's a perfect society at all, right? But just a fact. So the rabbi asked them, "What's your secret? How do you keep your kids? We're the Jewish people. We believe that we have the truth. We have such a beautiful Torah, such beautiful tradition and mitzvahs, and we have so many kids that are just leaving the folds, like left and right. Right? We're doing kiruv. We're bringing so many Jews, so many Jews that were disconnected in on one side, and the other ones are falling out. The youth are falling out on this side. Like, what's your secret?" So they said, "Oh, it's very simple. We take, when a child turns 18, we fill them up with a suitcase with clothes. We give them a pocket full of money, and we take them. They ride a horse. They don't have cars. They ride a horse and carriage. We drive them to the city, to the big city, which might be a really small town for them. But we drive them to the city. Say, here's money, here's your clothes. Do everything that you've ever wanted to do that we don't do in our community. Go ahead, do it. Women, drugs, right? Whatever it is, anything that you know about. I don't know how much they know about even. They're very, very insulated people. It's amazing. But so insulated that once I was in one of their stores, and he said, "So where do you?" He talked like a guy from the 1800s. He said, "So where do you live, sir?" I said, "I actually live in Israel, in the Holy Land." "Wow, it sounds tremendously peaceful over there." I reckon it's peaceful. He said, I reckon it's peaceful. I said, well, they showed me he's never heard the news for the last 80 years. It was a non-stop war, right? But they say to the 18-year-old, go,
take a year holiday.
do whatever you want to do out there. If you like it, here's the punchline. If you like it, you can do it. We're not going to hold anything against you, but you can't come back. You can't come back. If you go out there, you can't come back. If you decide you want to come back, so you leave all that there, and you come back, all right? But if you decide you're out there, you're out there. If you come back, you leave all that and you come back. He said most of them don't last a day. Yeah, but there are those that do, but it's very, very rare. You leave your family and your little community and to the world of cell phones and flashing lights. We're not, as Yidden, we're not allowed to do that, right? We can't say it's an amazing thing to be able to do. We can't do that. I can't tell my son, hey, go and do all the sins that you want to do, right? Because each one of those is so destructive for himself and for, right? So, but if our only thing was continuity. Now, what's the point? The point is Hashem does that with us, though. Hashem puts us in a world, everything is available, especially in this generation. Gentlemen, there's never been anything like this. There's never been anything like this. If a person wants to sin in every imaginable way, right? A person, even a king, couldn't do the things that anybody could do today, right? To see the things that a person can see today, right? It's all open. You can put 1 million filters on your phone and on your computer and on your life. And I only go to this place. I once had to go to Tel Aviv for something in the middle of the summer. I don't remember what it was. It's going back 15, 17 years, something. So, okay, Tel Aviv in the middle of the summer, for a Yid who's trying to keep his eyes clean, it's not so easy. So I just keep my eyes within my 4 amot, I'm not going to look right or left. Okay, so it's working pretty good. I get to a red light, I'm waiting to cross. And on the ground is an advertisement for some type of party or something, naked girls. Totally naked. So I said, look at that, Ribbon Shalom. I said, I was trying to protect myself from the half naked. Right? And in that, I end up saying full naked. Right? There's no way. Right? No matter what you do, you cover up like the bells are of in Vienna. Also that, they're going to find a way in. Right? And Hashem says, if you want it, nobody's stopping you. you learn in the Sefer that's not so good for you, right? It's like if a person wants, he can eat McDonald's all day and all night, right? It's probably not so good. And there was a movie, somebody made a thing, almost died after like a month. But like if you want,
Supersize me.
right. Yeah. Nobody's stopping you. Nobody's stopping you. A person could live a long life, right? Like that. So Hashem could say, but if you chose that, that's it. It's either me or that, right? But Hashem never says that. No matter what you've done, no matter where you've gone, right? There's the opening on the side of the hay. Hashem says, I always want you back in here, right? So why doesn't he just have one opening? You go out the way that you came in. So the Ramak is going to explain here. That if it's open on the top, because if he wants to come back, he's always welcome. And the Gemara asks over there, in Menachos, that how's he going to come back? He's going to come back in the same door that he left. He said it can't work like that. The very thing that he fell in the same way. Meaning, he's going to live in the same place. He's going to do the same. He's going to be in the same place where he was. He's doing the same things that he was doing before. Now he's not going to fall. That's how he's going to return. It can't be like that. He says, "Ratzu bazeh she'ashav b'tshuva lo yaspik lo she'yeh nigdar ba'avon k'geder tzadikim." Everybody that wants to live a life of purity and a life of holiness and connection with Hashem, we have to have fences around us protecting us. Not that my whole Judaism is a Judaism of fences. I really want inside there. The essence of Judaism is to be alive, to be invigorated, to be connected to God. I'm on fire, right? But in order to protect that, I have to have fences. That's just the way that it is in the world, right? Especially in our generation. But as a Baal Tshuva, I can't have the same fences, the same kinds of fences that a tzaddik, gamur, in other words, a person who never fell, never tasted this world. I can't have those same fences as him. It's not enough. For them, they have a small fence, so to speak, and that's enough for them because they don't know what's on the other side. They never went to the other side. It's working for them, right? To keep them protected. But someone who already went to that side, he already knows what that world is like. It's not enough for him a little fence. Now he has to make for himself some really strong fences. Because he had that small fence, and that small fence got broken. It wasn't enough. So I have to know myself. Right? What did Einstein say? That the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over and expect different results. I was here, right? And I couldn't do it. I fell, right? Like one of my, that same rabbi that ran the summer camp used to say that people say that Orthodox Jews, shomer nagir, we don't touch each other, men and women. That what are you, such so animalistic that you can't just have a simple handshake? And she says, no, we're honest. The thoughts that you think when you're shaking hands and hugging, right? We're just honest that we know that we can if we're going to live that kind of life of open contact between males and females, so it's just we're going to fall. Right? What's the proof? Is that men and women all over the world are falling into that and having all kinds of inappropriate relationships, right? I'm not talking about people that are seeking it, people that they're accidentally, so to speak, falling into that, right? It's just the way of the world, right? So it's not enough for me to have a little bit of a fence before, right? I need to have a bigger fence now because I already fell in that, and I know myself. I have to learn. If I get close to it, if I make only a small fence, I'm going to get close to it, and the Yetzer Hara is going to be very strong there for me. Therefore, it's not enough for me to, this is all figurative, I can't just come back into that same petach at the bottom of the hay. I have to climb up. I have to be holier. I have to be on a higher level to be able to come in to that smaller petach, right? Where I'm more protected over there, right? Because the opening is smaller. And he has to work strong to be able to make protective boundaries for himself. And that's the reason why the place that Baalei Tshuva stand, tzaddikim gemurim can't stand in that place. Meaning it's too much for them. For them, they have a small fence, it's working just fine. But the Baalei Tshuva need a lot more. מפני שלא נכנסו דרך פתח הצדיקים כדי שיהיו עם הצדיקים, אלא נצטערו ועלו דרך פתח העליון. Baal Tshuva has to work twice as hard to get to a place of purity, right? A person, imagine a person who's never seen anything, any advertisement, anything on the internet, any movies, anything like that in his life, right? We don't have to mifaret. Everybody knows what we're talking about.
There's Micha arm, never left Micha arm, or something like that.
Right, exactly. Or yeah, anywhere here.
Devorah Park, whatever it is.
Right? So how hard does he have to work not to have thoughts that are inappropriate, or to not have images in his mind that are inappropriate? He doesn't have them to even work with, as opposed to someone who lived a life like that for a long time. So for him, he has to work really hard to maintain a level of purity in his mind. I'm talking about, right? Which is an amazing thing. Hashem loves Balei Tshuva because they're working so hard, because they're trying to attain that purity. So Baal Tshuva is beating himself up, saying, "Golly, these kinds of thoughts and these kinds of memories," right? Meanwhile, he doesn't realize how precious he is in the eyes of God, right? That he's working so hard, right? Matter of fact, the Biala Rebbe here in Yerushalayim, lives in Tzfat in Yerushalayim, on his father's yahrzeit, who's the previous Biala Rebbe, who was also an angel of God. He goes to his minhag is to take 10 Balei Tshuva to the grave of the tzaddik. Before all the Hasidim are allowed to come to the grave, he takes a minion of Balei Tshuva, right? He wants those that they're working, they're struggling for their Judaism, right? So that's why the tzaddikim gemurim, they can't stand in that place. They don't know what it's like to have to work that hard to maintain something that for them comes a lot easier, right? In a certain sense. There's many explanations about this Gemara, by the way. How about Balei Tshuva stand in a different place than tzaddikim gemurim? But that's the way the Ramak teaches us. And therefore, Balei Tshuva stand on this level called Hey. They're Hey. Heichal Hashem, Shebegan Eden. The courtyard of God in Gan Eden, in the Garden of Eden, meaning in the spiritual world. I saw one, Dahainu Gag Ahei, meaning they climbed up through the Petach, and now they're not in the middle. They're on the roof of the hay, right? Which is, it sounds like just a nice metaphor or something, but he's really alluding to a spiritual world called Olam Ha'ava, a world that the Kabbalists call the world of love, which is a very extremely high place, one of the highest places in Gan Eden, right? And at that, just in parentheses, and he's still beating himself up. Oh no, but I did this and I did that, right? And Hashem says, look, you're in the highest place. The tzaddikim gemurim, the complete tzaddikim aren't in this place, right? That's where he is. The tzaddikim petach hay, and they're in the opening of the hay, in the bottom, knisat achsad, at the bottom. But azeh kasher adam yaseh tshuva. And therefore, when a person does tshuva, right, they pick themselves up out of that stuff that they're in, that place that they're in, and they do tshuva. Dahainu tashuv hey emukoma. What does it mean, teshuva? He says tashuv, to return to hay. Tshuva, tashuv, hay. Right? To return to the hay. He comes up to the roof of the hay. And then Hashem restores his shechina upon that person. Right? He's struggling. The tzaddik gemur is not struggling to the extent that he's struggling. He's struggling to maintain that level of kedusha. He has to, like we said, build strong fences around himself to maintain that level of kedusha, right? So Hashem restores the shechina upon him while he's doing that. Eno shav ki a'ava rishana bilvad. So when he returns in tshuva, he doesn't come back to the same place that he was in before, right? That lower place, to the love that Hashem had from before. Ela yoter v'yoter. Hashem gives him even more love, more love. V'ainu yeshuv yerachamenu. That's what this midah is. Yeshuv Yerachamenu. Hashem will return and be compassionate upon him. Meaning, he returns. Shiosif Rachamim leYisrael v'yitaknem v'yikarvem yoter. And Hashem gives more compassion on Yisrael, and he fixes them, and he brings them even closer. Right? We shouldn't think, chas v'shalom, for a second, that if we did something, or if Am Yisrael did something, that means that we're broken. I can feel broken. But we shouldn't think chas v'shalom for a second that we're broken. I just heard on the way, and I was listening to a shir. They said a story. It's not a Jewish story, but it's brought in Sefer about an eagle who laid an egg, and it rolled down the tree and ended up in a nest of chicken eggs. The hen comes and sees all these eggs. There's one little strange one. By the way, I had chickens and ducks, and the last time that they laid eggs, it was duck eggs. But the chickens decided that they were theirs, and so there was two chickens that roosted on them, and they ended up having 10 little ducklings, and the two mother chickens are raising them. Anyway, so that's the story. So the mother hen comes, she sees it's a weird egg, but okay, it's one of mine. It's one of mine. They all hatch, right? Lots of little chicks, and this one little strange looking chick. And everybody's telling her, you're a bit of Mashunadik, you're a little bit different from us. She says, no, I'm just like everybody else. Everybody's walking around, right? This one has bigger wings, right? They're growing. One day, mother eagle swoops down. All the chickens go running for their life, and also the baby eagle. What do you call a baby eagle? She goes running, and eaglet. She grabs him, and she's screaming. She says, don't you realize that you're mine? I said, what are you talking about? I'm a chicken. No. I have to explain to him and tell you the whole story, but you're really one of mine. And you know what? You can even fly. Fly! I'm a chicken. I can barely walk yet. You're telling me I can fly? After 5 minutes, the eagle's flying. The eaglet is flying, right? So how could it after 5 minutes? Because if it comes naturally to you, if this is your essence, that's who you are, you don't have to work hard to get back to it. The main thing is you have to believe that it's your essence. How does that relate to what we're talking about? And the essence of our neshama is that we're close to God. If we fell as an individual, as a nation, if we fell into all the different shmutz that there is in this world, right? And we start to identify with it. We start to think that that's who we are, right? But we have this voice inside of us of the Pintel Yid, that Yiddish neshama, that's screaming out all the time. That we can, and no matter how many socks you put in your ears, no matter how many socks you put in that voice's mouth, it never stops screaming. You always hear it. And when the main work is to realize my essence is close to God. And once I do that, it says, okay, so now I'm climbing. And it's not so hard. And I get back over there. Right? That's Yashuv Yirachamen. Hashem, you return to who you are. And Hashem shows you how easy it is and how much love He has for you, right? Especially when you have a child that became far from you, went far away, and when he comes back, there's nothing greater than that. There's no greater love that is expressed when that child comes back. Okay, that's the midah of Yeshuv Yerachamenu. Now the Ramak says, how are we supposed to do that? This is how we should strive to aspire to relate to our fellow Jew. He angered you before. He broke your trust before. He hurt your feelings before. Right? He said, don't hold on to your anger towards him. Try to let it go. Right? He said, but Rabbi, it's hard to let it go. I know. The Ramak knows. That's why he's telling us. That should be your aspiration, to try to let it go altogether. Again, you feel yourself. My nature is that I was raised in a family that we hold grudges. Mother says to the son, your father is a real grudge holder. Right? So what does the child learn? That's what we do. We hold grudges. We don't let them go. Right? So that's my nature. I'm pulling the wheel back over here. I'm letting it go. When you see that your friend is trying to come back to you in love, he's trying to restore the relationship. You should love him even more and have even more compassion on than you had before this whole incident. Right? He's like a Baal Tshuva to me. Right? Before our relationship, we were like tzaddikim gmurim. We never hurt each other. Now he hurt me. Now he's like about tshuva. He's even higher. He's even closer to me now. The tzaddikim gemurim can't stand in that place. And you should toil to bring him even closer to you. Now, the emes is, I said before that our nature is that it's hard for us to trust again. It's hard for us to do what the Ramak is telling us to do. But that's the emes. But then there's a deeper emes. And the deeper emes is that it really is like this. Meaning a real relationship, a real relationship is one where sometimes you get hurt from each other, but you fix it, right? In marriage, people think that in marriage, that a perfect marriage is one where you never fight, where you never disagree. It's not true at all, right? That might be a civil marriage, might be a calm marriage, right? But it's not going to be a very deep marriage, right? Which is not to mean you say you should go out and pick a wife that you're going to disagree with and fight a lot with, right? But you have to realize that that's the nature, even in the world of psychology, right? Ed Tronick, there's famous studies about the nature of a relationship is that there's connection, and then there's a breaking of the connection, and then there's a repair. That those are the most robust relationships. Those are the truest, truest connections where a person feels a deeper attachment, right? And so, also when a parent with their child, right? We're so scared in this generation to hurt our children, right? We don't want to scar them. We don't want to traumatize them. We've all been traumatized and scarred. We don't want to pass that on. Chas v'shalom, right? We're very, very sensitive to that. We have to know that a relationship can handle it. That's not the main thing. The main thing is, do you repair it? And when you are on the side, this what the Ramak is teaching us now, is when you're on the side of somebody's trying to repair with you, make yourself open to it. Make yourself open to it, not in a suspecting type of way, in a way where I'm open, you mean it, I'm bringing you in. And then what happens when you do that is the love really is much deeper. And I'm sure you guys have experiences that in different relationships in your life, right? The love is much truer in that sense. The next meet is a little bit long, so I think we'll save it for next week. Yeah, unless you guys want, whatever you guys want. No, pains be saved for next week.
Save it for next week.
Let's save for next week. Any questions, comments, complaints? Okay, gentlemen, have a wonderful Shabbos.